So it's Amazon Prime Big Day Deals time, and I've got you covered for all of your ham radio deals right here. So we're going to jump in and see what's available this year. Now, as always, these deals are from Amazon.com. They will be different in each region, so they might not be available to everybody. And there are links to these in the description below if you would like to use those links, and it does support the channel, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so first off is the UV-K5, the good old Quancheng UV-K5. I've done quite a number of videos on this radio. It's been around for a good while now, probably a year and a half now since this came out. Hackable radio. There's so many people putting like HF mod boards, all sorts of things into these things, and it is currently $22.39 on special here for Prime Big Day, 20% off for the UV-K5. I ended up getting a couple of these. They're very versatile, could do a lot of things apart from obviously just the normal 2 meters and 70 centimeters. But if you have seen and want to have a look on my channel for more stuff about the Quancheng, if you don't have a Quancheng, where you've been living, you've been under a rock. But anyway, they are on special for Prime Big Day. Not only that is the upgraded version, which is the UV-K6. This has a different screen in it and a slightly different, more ergonomic design. That is $24.79, so a little bit, couple of bucks more expensive, but you might like that screen and you might like the UV-K6. And again, I've covered these radios on my channel, so you can look into those if you're interested to know which one you want to go with. Next up, we have the Retevis RT95. This is a good little VHF UHF mobile radio that I've also reviewed on the channel, and this just so happens to be under $100. It's $99.99, a 25-watt radio, small little thing you can put in your car. It's a great little, sounds great with the audio on this. The microphone's pretty good, sturdy quality as well compared to some of the others, and I actually really, really like this radio. It's a great little thing. You can also flip the screen if you mount it inverted, if you've got it up underneath a dash or something like that. You could program it with chirp. You could do a whole bunch of things with it. But for $100, that's quite a nice model radio, mobile radio, especially to get going with, especially for beginners. If you want to get something that's a little bit more than your handheld that does 5 watts, you can get more power out of this. So the Retevis RT95 is $100. And moving on is the Radio Oddity QT60. This is a 10-meter radio. Now, I reviewed the Anytone Quadruple 5 N2, I think is the model radio, and this is essentially the exact same thing. This is a great little 10-meter radio. I love this radio that I've got, the Anytone version anyway. As I said, this is the exact same model, the Radio Oddity, but $207. You can also mod it as well, so it'll also do 27 megs, and I think it'll even do even lower than that. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I think it'll also do 12 meters as well, but don't quote me on that. But this is a 60-watt radio. It does FM, AM, SSB. Doesn't do CW, but it does all those other modes, and it gets great reviews. This little radio, it's a good little radio, especially for technicians as well, because technicians, you guys can get on 10 meters, and 10 meters is going really good at the moment with the sunspot cycle. So there's a lot of activity to be had. So if you want to get a nice little mobile radio for 10 meters, or even something that sort of sits in the shack, then this is for you. So yeah, $207 on special, down from $259, so 20% off, which is good from Radio Oddity. Our next thing is something that I think if you're doing Anderson power poles, you need. I have this crimper, and you can see I've got it right here. This is fantastic. I use this all the time when I am crimping my power pole connectors. This will do all of your power poles, your 15, 30, 45 amp, and it's $22, so it's on special. It's pretty much a must-have if you're doing these, crimps. It can be a real pain if you're using pliers or something like that. Doesn't make a real clean job of it, but this is a really good, and it's the ratchet version as well. So yeah, it's just really good. So get one of those if you're doing a lot of Anderson power poles for $22. Now, this is the cheapest programming cable that I've ever seen for a Baofeng radio, or any radio basically. It'll also do a whole bunch of other ones as well. Anything that uses the 2-pin K connector, Kenwood connector, $3.99. Now, some of the other ones here, you could see $12, $9, and saw a couple, I think $7, but this is the cheapest that I've ever seen. So this has got the FTDI chip in it as well. So $4, 50% off for Baofeng cables, which is insane. So if you need a programming cable for your handheld radio, then you want to use Chirp or something like that, jump on this deal. $4 is an absolute steal. It's the cheapest I've ever seen. I've never seen any cheaper than that. Now, also, I've been doing a lot of videos recently using the Tiny SA and the Nano VNA, and there are quite a few deals to do with both of those things. So first of all, this is the Tiny SA Spectrum Analyzer. This is not the Ultra version. There is a deal for that though. This is the basic Tiny SA version. And this is a great little handheld spectrum analyzer. It also does signal generation as well. So it's a signal generator, 100 kilohertz to 960 megahertz, 2.8 inch touchscreen on special from Rsync for $57, $58, which is really, really good. So that's the basic version. And then they've got the upgraded Ultra version, and this is the version that I've got. It says here 100 kilohertz to 800 megahertz, but you can put it into an Ultra mode. That's the signal generator, but you can put it into an Ultra mode for the spectrum analyzer function, and it will do up to 5.3 gigahertz. So this is really good. $191. This is down from $270 on special from Seaside. So I've been using this for testing some of my radios for spurious emissions, for looking for signals, for RFI tracking, for looking at weird radio transmissions, and didn't know that they existed, and I could see the whole spectrum on this little tiny screen. So it's really, really comes in handy for $191. So that is on special. And the Nano VNAs, I've been doing a couple of videos recently using the Nano VNAs on testing ferrites and also testing coax delay lines. You can also test antennas, SWR, you could see phases, you could see Smith, you've got the Smith chart in there, all sorts of stuff you could do with a Nano VNA. It's a great little experimenting tool, antenna analyzing, you could do all sorts of things with it. This one's the H4, which is 10 kilohertz to 1.5 gigahertz, 4-inch touchscreen for $78. So that is a great deal on that. Then we move on to the EcoFlow. This is the Delta Max 2000. Now, I did a review on this little power station recently, and it's a great little unit. Powers a whole bunch of things for off-grid. $999 down from $1,600, so that's a real good deal on that. And EcoFlow have quite a few other deals as well. They've got the smaller version. This is the River 2 Pro. This is a slightly smaller battery pack. It's slightly smaller output, but it might still do for a lot of use cases as well. $380, so that's also discounted from EcoFlow. Now, Raspberry Pis. I've got a whole ton of Raspberry Pis. I've got them running all Starlink nodes. I've got them running web servers. I've got a whole bunch of other stuff that's happening with Raspberry Pis. And I come across this Raspberry Pi 4B 4 gig kit, which comes with an SD card. It's a starter kit, comes with the power supply, case, heat sinks, fan, all sorts of things like that for $72. So there's a couple of other Pi sales on as well. So there's also a Raspberry Pi 5 as well, which is in a kit that I've noticed is on special too. There's also this is the 8 gigabyte version of the same thing with the Raspberry Pi 4. That is $95. So a little bit more expensive, but the Raspberry Pi 4s are very versatile, especially if you want to build like an all Starlink node, or you want to build a MMDVM node or something like that for digital. You can use the Raspberry Pi 4. Along with that, I found the cases. This is an Argon Neo case, which I use, an aluminium case, which it uses as a heatsink as well. $13, so that's on special. These are great little cases. They're very nice compact form factor. They still allow access to the GPOs in the top there. I've used one of these with my All-Star Link node as well, with the Pi hat in the top. So for $13, that's great. And then they've also got this other aluminium case which supports a fan and a few other bits and pieces like a SATA SSD connection in there. So if you want to build something else, I've built one of the built a Plex server using one of these. So 23.50 for that one. So that's also on special, down 50%. That's why I saw that and thought that's a pretty good deal. So so Raspberry Pi cases, and they also break out the connections on the outside for this case too. Next up is the TID Radio TDH3. I've got a couple of these and I've reviewed these on the channel as well. $37.59, which is 20% off, which seems like a good deal until you get to the 2-pack. The 2-pack is $51, 15% off the normal price. You get 2 batteries, 2 radios, 2 chargers, 2 sets of antennas, 2 sets of everything. So $51 for the TID Radio TDH3, which these are great little handheld radios. They're clean spectrally. They're easy to operate, easy to use. They also support Bluetooth. They've got USB-C on them as well. You can program them directly with USB-C. So yeah, they're great radios. The TDH3, I recommend those. And if you want to see more, I've done again a review on my channel of those. Next up is the Baofeng DM1701. This is a DMR radio. This is a radio which I've looked to get. I don't have one, but I know others that have got them. And the reason that they've got them is because it supports OpenGD77. Since the Radio Oddity GD77's become unavailable, you've had to get other sort of alternative radios. And I think that this is the main one that a lot of people get, the Baofeng DM1701, because it supports that. So $72 for the Baofeng DM1701. Now, this is an interesting deal. This is the 6-pack of Baofeng GT5Rs. Now, the Baofeng GT5R is a spectrally clean version of the UV5R from Radio Oddity, or Baofeng Radio Oddity, sold by Radio Oddity. $104 for a 6-pack. That works out to be like $17 a radio, and you get this 6-way charging cradle. You also get all of the other accessories and stuff that come with it, but like the antennas and programming cable, and also the batteries. And this is great for if you've got some sort of like field day event or some sort of events that you're running. It's a cheap way of getting radios deployed out there, and you don't even have to worry if one goes missing or something. It's like $17. You know, you're not sort of got super expensive radios. So, yeah, $104 for about $17 each a radio is a pretty good deal. I love my Kioeats clamp meter that I've got, not only because it is a multimeter and it does lots of multimeter functions, as you can see there. This is the HT208D, but it also does DC current, which a lot of clamp meters don't do. They'll only do AC. This one does, and it's reasonably accurate as well. I love using this for measuring currents that are higher than 10 amps that most multimeters you have to put in series with your circuit and measure your current, but you're only limited to 10 before you blow the fuse. At least with this, you can clamp it on and you can measure up to like, what, 1,000 amps or something like that. So $72. This is a fantastic meter. It's great. And then, as I said, it doubles as a multimeter. So if you don't have one of these and you have a need to measure currents, especially DC currents, then this works really, really well. This is a spare microphone for Yaesu radios. So I've got an FT8900 in my car, and I spilt Coke on the microphone. And it was a real pain to try and replace the microphone. And I found that this is, I think this is a copy. This is a good version of a copy though, not sort of some of the other ones that I've seen, but $18.40. And even if you don't use the mic, sometimes these cables, the cords on these, they perish really easily, especially around the microphone. I don't know what it is about the rubber of the original version microphones, but they seem to just fall apart. So that's in itself, you could just get the cable and just reuse the cable. So $18.40 for one of those if you've got that Yaesu microphone connector, or that particular microphone. Now, this one I thought was a little bit funny. This is a deal which was $8 for a PL259 paralleled up with two SO239s. I wouldn't recommend getting this because you're not splitting properly here. That's just going to be an impedance and SWR nightmare. But I just thought I'd add it in for a bit of humor. And let me know what other problems might come along with using that in the comments below. There's also a Baofeng UV5R Plus in, I just caught my eye because it was in blue, yellow, and red. Also camouflaged as well. So You can get these for $18.40. So again, we all know what the UV5Rs are capable of, but they're $18. So and in a range of colors, so you can grab those as well. Next up is a couple of batteries. This is a LiPo 4 12 amp version. This would be good for running portable. I run one of these with my IC705 and it works really well. It lasts forever on a 705. In fact, you could probably run something like a 7300 or a 891 or, you know, that kind of HF radio, 100 watt HF radio, maybe a Zygo G90, you definitely could. But those 100 watt radios, you might be able to turn the power down. They might not last for as long. This one's $40. You can get, oh, I'm out of order here. You can get the upgraded version, which is the 20 amp version here for $52. So that will definitely run a 100 watt radio for quite a duration of time, especially on SSB. So that one's $52. And then you've also got the eco-worthy 20 amp hour version as well, which I found, which was $48. So that's also on special. Now, you saw it flash up just a minute ago too. These soldering stations come with a variable adjustable temperature control. They also come with the clips, the handles, so you can put the PCBs and hold that while you're soldering. So this is about $40, which was quite a substantial discount, 33% off for those. So yeah, good little temperature controlled soldering iron. This is a 50 watt PL259 dummy load. I've got quite a few loads in my shack with various different connectors on them. I use them quite often actually. So for like testing radios and testing antennas, and if I want a good, you know, load that can handle the amount of power, so 50 watts, this one was $22, which I thought was pretty good value for money. So that's on special as well. I came across this too. This is a Radio Oddity RD371. This is a tri-band antenna for 2 meters, 220 and 70 centimeters. This looks very much like a Nagoya antenna, and I was just looking at the design of it. It looks almost exactly like a copy of a Nagoya. So upgrade for your handheld radio, so $10.40. That's quite cheap, so that's a pretty good deal coming from Radio Oddity. So it's a quarter wave on 2 meters, a half wave at 220, and a 5/8 wave at 70 centimeters. So good little upgrade over the standard rubber duck on your antennas. Just be careful on this because you can see it's the reverse SMA type. So that's the for the handhelds like the Baofeng and stuff like that, which it should suit. Some of the other radios have a SMA, require an SMA male instead. Another battery which I came across is the Redodo 12 volt 100 amp hour. So if you need more power to run some more radios or stuff off grid, this is $180. So this is down, discounted as well. These are great batteries. These have been tested by countless YouTubers. I know that the Smoking Ape's done quite a few tests on this battery, temporarily offline. Steve, KM9G, he's also used this battery as well, and it works very well for him. So $180 for the 100 amp hour version. Now, everyone needs heat shrink. This is the adhesive line stuff, so the glue line stuff, 4:1. I liked this because it was like a 500 piece set. So there's all sorts of different sizes in there, and you just have to get this kind of kit because I use heat shrink all the time, and I can't just get one length at one size because I need all sorts of different sizes for different wire types and different wire sizes, and this is where this comes in. So 568 piece for $12. So like get yourself a couple of packs of this and you'll be set for a couple of years worth of heat shrinking. So good deal there. Now also Retevis have the RA25. So we talked about the RT95 earlier. This is the GMRS version kind of that, another sort of similar design. 20 watts, $80.50 for a GMRS mobile radio. So that's good if you're into GMRS and you want to get hold of that. That's a good deal. Speaking of GMRS, the Baofeng UV5G, I've done a review on this radio. I found that this was a good little radio. Obviously, we can't use GMRS here in my country, but it was easy to operate, and it was also a carbon copy of another ham radio, the UV5 RM. So $24 for a handheld radio. So you could couple these two together and your family's up and running on GMRS. The Shawcom SW102. This is a power meter and SWR meter. This is VHF and UHF only, so it won't do HF. $46, so this could be used for testing antennas and also for making sure that your SWR on your antenna is correct. So $46, which is a good deal. I think in the last Prime Day deal, it wasn't quite that cheap, so that's good if you don't have a meter. Solder wick, everyone needs solder wick. I need to get some more for my shack because I don't have enough. But this is $7.60 for a length of 10 foot of solder wick. This is the thin stuff, which is really good for desoldering the real fine components. So make sure that you grab a couple of rolls of that for the toolbox. Then also a spare power cable. So this will suit a number of radios that have this style of power connector on them, the 6-way power connector, 6-pin power connector. So it's got here the Yaesu 847, 857, 897, a couple of ICOMs as well. I think this will also suit the ICOM 7300. It says the 706, and there's quite a few different models in here, but just double check. Pretty sure that that one does fit the 7300. And so that's $12. So that's a good little cable if you want to, have a couple of cables up with, like, one with Anderson power poles, one with lugs for in the shack, one that sort of stays there. So that's a good deal for getting hold of those. And then I've also got this mini speaker. I've got one of these in my car that I use because I've got my radio mounted underneath the seat of the car, so I can't hear the speaker in the radio. So I run this extension speaker out to the center console, and it's $13. So for on special from Radio Oddity. So those are the Amazon Big Day Prime deals that I found. If there's anything else that caught your eye, then let me know in the comments below. Again, all of the links for everything that I described in this video are in the description.